back to Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
And I'm Dash Mentzel.
Bison football is coming off a devastating loss to NDSU 23-21 with the help of the Fargo Dome.
It's the first time since 2015 that the Bison have lost 2 regular season games in the same season.
In the first half, the offense did a good job. They were electric. The tempo was pretty nice. I don't know what happened. You know, I think the plays that utilized the pass and the run game, and that was a great addition. Coach Rowe really did his thing in the first half.
Yeah, and it was awesome to see what the offense was able to do in the first half with the pass and the run. You know, guys like DJ Hart, Zach Mathis, Alex Lippy getting it through the air, but then also you got guys like Hunter Lipke on the ground. So it was great to see a combination there.
Right, and I remember we were talking about this last week, utilizing more of the receivers. You know, Zach Mathis, DJ Hart made a statement in this game. I'm glad that they utilized it, but later in the half, it just sucked.
Yeah, and, you know, late in the second half, it seemed like after halftime, unfortunately, the offense just kind of felt like they didn't need to go to the air anymore. They had the 14-point lead. All they needed to do was run it and run the clock out. But unfortunately, that did not work against this SDSU defense, who is very good at playing defense overall.
Right. Even in the first half, the defense wasn't looking that good. I think they were just maintaining at that. Missed tackles and missed reads was the biggest thing in that first half.
Absolutely, and throughout the entire game as well, not just the first half. But yeah, in the first half on that first drive, SDSU got it pretty easily down the field. But NDSU's defense for the rest of the first half didn't allow any more points, and that's kind of what allowed the offense to run away with it. They gave up, they allowed a couple of 3-and-outs, so I mean, the defense was doing what they needed to in the first half.
I'd say this, penalties also played a part in their success in the first half. You know, the stadium was so loud, man. The offense, it was the same guy, number 73?
Number 78, the right tackle, got 4 of the 5 false starts.
Yeah.
And the other one was Isaiah Davis, who got the other one.
The Fargo Dome really brought, you know, the crowd out, and that was good. They needed that for that time. If they didn't have that in the first half, maybe it would have went a little bit differently.
Yeah, and the crowd was definitely doing their part to help the defense. And considering, you know, on a lot of those drives, SDSU had to start like first and 15, first and 20 even sometimes. That really helped out the defense in the first half. SDSU was starting at a disadvantage on almost every drive. That's why they couldn't get much going in the first half.
Yeah, but with both of those factors, they went into the half 21-7, and then in the second half, things just blew over. You know, the defense to me, they didn't look perfect in the first half. In the second half, it just got worse. I mean, awful. Missed tackles became the biggest problem in the second half.
Isaiah Davis definitely showed why he's one of the best running backs in the FCS. He just ran over the defense, multiple missed tackles against him, and not just him either, though. There was a whole bunch of plays where multiple missed tackles. This defense, and they also couldn't capitalize on opportunities. There was a forced fumble that couldn't be recovered, unfortunately, by redshirt freshman defensive end Cole Menz. It was just very unfortunate.
And I remember we're mentioning when watching the game, you know, we were on the field mentioning the linebackers. They're not picking up on anything. They're just getting blown up.
No, they're not reading the run gaps very well. And a lot of the times you'll see them shift over to one side and they'll get blocked out of the run gap right away because they're not reading the gaps right off the bat and diving in there right away.
And that's the thing. How can this team, Dash, I want to ask you, how can this team come back from that? You know, the line has already taken a big hit, and now the linebackers are kind of slack, and the DBs, you know, missed tackles, I think, from the DBs. How do you think this is going to play out for the rest of the season?
They have to get more of an aggressive mentality, and we've seen that before, obviously, out of this NDSU defense. They just got to find a way to get it back again. Lately, in these last couple of games, there's been a lot of missed tackles, a lot of missed opportunities on this defensive side. They got to find a way to get that fire back in the defense.
Now, let me ask you this. Would you ever would have thought before the season that the offense would carry, you know, this team, being that the defense has so many vets, you know, return? Would you would have thought that?
Possibly, but I guess you never put into account the injuries that this defense has had as well. You already lost Cava for the year, Mostert for the year, so it's just an unfortunate set of injuries. But yeah, this defense is definitely not what we thought they were at the beginning of the season, unfortunately, but there's still time to pick it up, and especially with a bye week, I think personally, in my mind, coming at a pretty good time, this could be a time to regroup and recollect their thoughts. Yeah,
but the defense collapsing in the second half, you know, the offense didn't do any better. I mean, their stuff went back to predictable, just like the past weeks, and I know you were getting angry about that. Why do you think Coach Rowe kind of backed up on the plays?
It's just, and we've discussed this before, he might not trust Cam Miller, unfortunately, and Cam Miller had a great first half, an amazing first half. First 13 passes thrown without an incompletion. And then towards the end of the first half, they tried to run a little bit of a trick play with Cole Payton. That didn't work out according to plan, unfortunately. But it was still a 21-7 lead at half, and everything was still clicking. Then the first drive of the second half, on third down, Cam almost throws an interception. It was not the greatest pass he's ever thrown, but it fell incomplete, so no harm, no foul. But it seemed like after that, we just stopped throwing it entirely. And I don't know if that's part of the mindset that he had where we had a 14-point lead and it was just time to chew down clock, but it was still early in the third quarter. It was far too early to start doing that. Or does he just not trust Cam to continue to make throws over and over again?
Well, even going into the half, they were making the offense was making a lot of mistakes. You know, they had to stop and regroup for a little bit. Let's just go into half with some momentum. But as far as Coach Rowe not trusting Cam Miller, I think it's just he doesn't trust the mistakes. Once he sees the offense kind of leading back, he goes, okay, it's time to play it safe. We don't want to do anything, especially in the game of that magnitude. They don't want to do anything to blow the lead.
Yeah, there's a couple of mistakes with penalties, too. A couple on sportsmanlike penalties, one on Miller, one on Cody Mauk. And yeah, those are the kind of penalties that really hurt you because especially the Miller penalty, too, we would have been inside the 10-yard line, and that moved them 15 yards back. Then the interception happened shortly after that. So it's just a killer penalty that you can't have.
Just to get into the players, you know, the offense, I think Cam Miller actually had a good game, especially in the first half. He led the offense to a good tempo, especially against a team like that. To me, you can't ask for a better start. I mean, the passes that he had, you can't ask for a better start.
If you ask me, this was probably his best game so far as an NDSU Bison throwing the ball.
I can see it.
Unbelievably in the first half, finding multiple targets too. It wasn't just like he was finding one guy. I mean, DJ Hart was the main guy, but
even Zach Mathis.
He was finding, Zach Mathis. Joe Stoffel had a few catches. He got that one touchdown on Hunter Lipke. He's, utilizing all these different weapons, which is very good to see that he's not just looking at one guy. He's looking at multiple weapons, which is
pretty rare. Definitely
going to help him in the pass game.
And I would say this, though, like I mentioned last week, in the second half, the offense got dead, and it just went cold. I mentioned, can Cam Miller get the offense back running when it goes cold like that? Unfortunately, in the second half, it didn't. Maybe that's the trust that you mentioned with Coach Rowe and Cam. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe he assumes that or knows that Cam Miller's not the guy. He's not the it factor to get these guys back and running. So he's going to play it safe and run predictable plays like the run game. You know what I mean?
It's just situational play calling for me right now. That's the big problem, and especially considering their best drive in the second half was probably the last drive of the game where they actually got past midfield to try to get in the field goal range to win the game. And they ended up, unfortunately, failing on fourth down. But they actually moved the ball for a couple of first downs, and that's because they were passing again. They actually started passing the ball again. Otherwise, it was just running all the second half, which was blatantly obvious what they were going to do. So SDSU, it was just a day in the park for them on defense.
As far as running backs, backfield, Hunter Lipke led with 58 yards. Not much happening. Like I said, they utilized both the pass and the run. And, in the second half, they just went cold. So not really, much action back there.
Yeah, and I think that's just a credit to SDSU and their defense. SDSU defense is very good. I mean, they held, Iowa's offense when they played Iowa for the FBS. They held them to 7 points. So, and technically, actually, the 3 points because Iowa got more points with their defense than their offense. But so SDSU's defense is very, very good, and you got to give them credit there.
And as far as passing, DJ Hart, like we said, made a statement in this game. In my opinion, he was responsible for 2 of our touchdowns. That big pass, first his touchdown in the first half, in the first quarter, and then that big pass he had on the sideline, and we scored. Cam Miller scored off that big play. So he did his thing in this game.
There are definitely going to have to be new weapons to step up now. Noah Gindorf is done for the year, and now Phoenix Sproles has just announced that he's left the team, and he's going to Samford College, another FCS school. So there's definitely going to have to be guys to step up now and take those roles. And a guy like DJ Hart, he definitely very well could do it with a performance like that.
Dash, what do you got for the defense?
The defense played well in the first half after the first drive because the first drive was pretty easy for SDSU. They just walked into the end zone in the first drive. But after that, SDSU had trouble moving the ball at all. And they made Mark Gronowski's day a living nightmare for most of the day. 3 sacks, and they also held them to only 152 yards passing, and half of those passing yards only went to one guy, Yankee. However, the first half for the front seven, or after the first half, the front seven, they were getting it handed to them, unfortunately. They had no answers in the second half for either Isaiah Davis or Amar Johnson. Davis had 114 yards rushing, and Amar Johnson had 89, and they each had a touchdown.
And you know what it is? It was a combination of a flat throwing and a combination of Isaiah Davis just busting up the middle and just creating nothing out of something. You got to understand, some plays our linebackers were there, but they just couldn't make the tackle.
There are certain plays where, the linebackers or either defensive lineman, linebacker, somebody was there in the hole, in the gap. couldn't make the tackle, and he would end up busting it for 20 more yards. Yeah. Then there were also other plays right up the middle where nobody was, after the line of scrimmage, nobody was there for like 10 yards. So Davis just had free reign for about 10 to 15 yards.
Now, how do you think they can fix that? You know, that's like we mentioned last week. Madden said, you know, that's just, you can't really teach that. We've been practicing in practice. All you have to do is show it. Execution. It's not really much they can do there.
They just have to get some fire in their system because some of it is just like being a little hesitant about where to go with it. If you're going to go somewhere, go immediately. Don't just stand around kind of tipping your toes. You got to get moving.
For some offensive stats, Cam Miller had himself a game, 17 passes, 227 yards with 3 touchdowns. Hunter Licky led the backfield with 15 carries, 58 yards, and a receiver touchdown. DJ Hart led the receivers with 4 receptions, 59 yards, and 1 touchdown. Dash, well, defensive stats you got.
Defensive tackle leaders, Michael Tutsi led the way in tackles with 9. Luke Wirtz and James Kaiser had 7 each, and the defense also had 3 sacks, 1 each by Luke Wirtz, Marquise Siegel, and Spencer Wagee, and the defense also had 5 tackles for loss, which matches their total last week against Indiana State.
So they are now 5-2. They will have a bye this week, and they're going to need it, man, because they need to really regroup, go back to the drawing board, and see who really wants to play and see how they can fix this team. You know, they'll return on the 29th against Illinois State at 2:30 p.m., so hopefully this break can do something for them.
Absolutely. This is a good time for a bye week against an Illinois State team who has been doing very well at keeping themselves in games this year. A lot of people pushed them off to the side before the season. They've been doing a great job in all their games this year, keeping it close and winning a lot of these games that they weren't expected to win. And I think they'll do the same thing against NDSU because I give a lot of credit to the Redbirds. However, even though I think they can give NDSU a scare, I think NDSU will still be able to get the win. I think 24-10 will be the final. The Bison win.
You know what? For the first time on the show, I'm not going to do a prediction because in my mind, I just can't do it. None of my predictions go right, and then I was close with NDSU, and that's the hardest game in the season. So I'm done. But I will say this: I want to know what's going to happen because Matt Ince in the press conference. This is what he said, and I quote: "We're going to find out who really wants to get down and gets their hand dirty and get better." So I want to see who steps up, who he plays. What if he sits a guy out and we're just like, I wonder why he's sitting him out. One of the vets, you know, I really want to know what's going to happen. I really don't know.
We'll have to find out this Saturday.
Yep. When we come back, we'll get into some, we have a special guest actually. Guest interview. When we come back, we'll have him. Stay tuned.
Founded in 1985, the Missouri Valley Football Conference has established a tradition of FCS football excellence. Competing at the highest level of NCAA Division I, student athletes at its 10 institutions demonstrate character, passion, and integrity as they grow as a student, an athlete, and a citizen. The Missouri Valley Football Conference, where leaders are shaped and champions are forged.
One kid, one mentor, plus one moment can unlock limitless potential. 30,000 youth are waiting. Be there for one of them. Become a big today.
At NDSU, we're going to teach you about how to work with people. We're going to teach you about relationships with people and how to manage those relationships successfully, whether that's at work, whether that's at home. We have majors in agricultural communication, strategic communication, journalism, and management communication. We have students who have graduated who are doing all kinds of different things, everything from marketing to writing content to development to career coaching. We also, of course, have people doing more traditional things like news reporter or working for TV stations. The faculty members in our department advise undergraduate students. We think that it's important for faculty to develop relationships with our undergrads. We have an advisory board, and that consists of people in the community who are like local business people, and we try to make connections with those people so that literally we know the person that they should talk to about a job. You can't be in the world if you can't communicate. My recommendation is that you take some communication classes at the very least if you can. Even better, do a major in communication.
Welcome back. We're here with NDSU wide receiver Zach Mathis. Great to have you on the show, man. How you doing?
Yeah, good. How are you?
We're doing good, man. So just to start off with the season, you're leading the team in receptions and touchdowns and receiving yards. You've been having a good year. Care to comment on that?
I just trying to help this team win. I'm glad. Like, I've had a lot of injuries in the past, so it feels good to finally get out there and do something for this team.
You got your first touchdown in the opener against Drake. I mean, how did that feel to finally get a touchdown at the college level?
It was awesome, honestly, especially with what I've had to deal with in the past. And then it was really cool because that was the same play my friend Christian got his first touchdown on, and he was there, so that was pretty something special.
Yep. Over the years, like you said, you've been battling with injuries. What were some of the things you were telling yourself over the season and working on to kind of, ignore those injuries for the season?
Just to stick through it, trust the process, trust in my ability, and just to go out there with the most confidence I can have.
You already have more than double the receiving yards that you did all of last year. Do you think that's because you're gaining chemistry with Cam or this offense or anything else?
Chemistry is a big part of it. Being out in the field also is a part of it because last year I missed the first 4 games with a broken elbow. But the chemistry has definitely been picking up. Me and Cam put in a lot of extra work inside and outside the facility. So it's definitely good to see it pay off.
Kind of piggyback on that, you guys have a lot of receivers, just to touch on, DJ Hart, Jake Lippy, and Bradley Henderson. How has the process been like trying to utilize all you guys on the field?
Yeah, I could see how it could be tough. We're a very deep room, but we're all just waiting for our opportunity and make sure that we capitalize on those opportunities that we get.
I mean, all you guys as wide receivers, just a quick follow-up question here. All you guys with wide receivers, you guys are a big group together. I see you guys always in the pregame doing your little tradition there before the game starts. I mean, how's the camaraderie of the wide receiver group right now?
We're a very tight-knit group. We're all like brothers, and we all treat each other like brothers. So when we're out there on the field, it's no different. We just know we got each other's backs. And then in the meeting room and stuff like that, we tend to have a lot of fun and are real close with each other.
Now, switching gears, you guys are coming off the tough loss against NDSU. What were some of the issues you guys were facing as far as passing late in the game?
We just got to execute better, be on top of our assignments more, make sure that we're doing the right things, going to the right spots to make sure that the play works and is successful so we can drive down the field. And, we didn't quite hit on that at the end of that game, so we're looking to move forward and improve any way we can.
Kind of going off that, since the loss, I know you guys have been going back to the drawing board and reflecting how you guys can get better. What has been the mindset since Saturday's game?
Honestly, the mindset is we got to let everybody know that we can play with anybody, that we're still the top dog, even if we lose, that we're still always going to have that target on our back. And we just got to improve every day, and we're all looking to push forward, and we have a real mentality, like we're trying to win every game by 40.
You guys have a bye this upcoming week, and how big is that coming off, at this point in the season, coming off of a loss?
Mid-season, it doesn't help when you lose with a bye week the next week because you kind of just sits there, but usually when you have a game the next week, you can focus on the next opponent. And because of the bye week we have, we're being more detailed and more focused in practice this week because knowing we don't have a game and we have to be sharp and detailed for the next week.
Looking ahead, have you guys been keeping your eyes on teams like Southern Illinois or UND, coming up in the schedule?
Not really, honestly. We kind of just stick to ourselves and focus on what we can do to be better each week. Not worried about the outside noise or what any other team is doing. We just focus on us.
All right, man, to wrap up, thanks for having you. We appreciate having you on the show.
Yeah, no problem.
Good thing you guys have a bye week so you guys can rest up before you guys start battling again. But when we come back, we have several Bison sports to cover and some NFL news. Stay tuned.
No kid deserves to go hungry, but try as they might, not every family can afford to put food on the table every day. That's why the Great Plains Food Bank and their partner agencies work every day to bring food to our hungry neighbors. Every dollar donated can provide 4 meals for those in need. Go to greatplainsfoodbank.org and donate today so no kid in North Dakota ever has to go hungry.
My name is Becky Parker, and I'm a news anchor at WDAY-TV. I graduated from NDSU in 2010 with a degree in journalism, broadcasting, and mass communication technologies, and then I had an emphasis on broadcasting. Principles of broadcast production and advanced broadcast production. Those were favorites because they were the most relevant for career experience. You're calling people for interviews, you're writing an article. It doesn't just feel like an assignment, it's like actually doing it. I was the news director for the first full semester of the Bison Information Network. the BIN advisor here, was very much invested in me to actually have a career in broadcasting. He helped me get my internship and my first job. The people in NDSU's Department of Communication are really interested and helpful in getting students the connections that they need in order to get a job beyond school.
The NDSU Bookstore, where every true fan and alum goes to get their pride on. Gear up with a variety of high-quality t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and more. Made by top-of-the-line brands like Under Armour, Nike, and CI Sport to help you show off your Bison pride. The NDSU Bookstore has everything you need in your two favorite colors, green and gold.
Welcome back. We're going to start this segment off with Bison soccer. So they had a good weekend beating rival UND. It's always good to beat UND. They beat the Fighting Hawks 2-0 in Grand Forks, too.
A very good game for this team. And a lot of the times this year, we've seen games where NDSU and the team they're playing are very similar on paper, but NDSU always seems to be on the wrong side of it. This time, they're on the right side of it, in a very crucial game at the very end of the season against the team that they are fighting for to get a spot in the conference tournament with.
Yep, in the game, in the 10th minute, Paige goalie scored her sixth goal of the season, and Olivia Lavick scored in the 60th minute off a penalty kick. Dash, what are some of the other stats?
NDSU had 14 shots on goal, UND had 12. NDSU had 8 saves and UND had 6. Each team also had 6 corner kicks and 9 fouls.
So they are now 3-4 in the conference. They're ranked sixth. Sorry about that. The Bison will have home field advantage this weekend against SDSU and USD. You know, they're going to need it. You know, this weekend determines whether they go to the Summer League tournament. They have to be in the top 6 to qualify, which they're at right now, and both of these teams are in the top 4. So this weekend will be tough.
It's down to pretty much NDSU and UND for that last spot at the very moment, and both of these teams play SDSU and USD to end the year. So it's going to be very interesting to see which team can play these two teams better and which team wants it more. It's crunch time now. It's the end of the line. It's the last weekend. If you really want to get to this tournament, you got to play well in these last 2 games. It doesn't matter how good your opponent is. You got to be better than them.
Yeah, it can also be looked at, as a clean slate. Like, just play your hardest. You have this is what you have to lose now. If you don't play your hardest in this game, no matter how hard the team is, you're out.
You always talk to me about the coaching situation with soccer. What happens if they fail to make the tournament again?
I mean, there's just no other choice. If this team does not make it to the Summer League tournament, just like last season before that, is the team, why not fire the head guy? Who else can it be? The players are outstanding.
And a lot of returning players from last year, too.
Exactly. So what can be the problem? It can't be the players. There's no way it can't be the players. It can't be the fire. They had some good games, even though they had some loss. And they haven't, like you said, they haven't laid over and died. They keep coming back fighting each week. So it's got to be the coach. What do you think?
Possibly. I mean, this weekend's definitely going to tell a lot about what's going to happen this offseason. There's going to have to be talks either, We'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, moving on to volleyball on Saturday, they had a devastating loss against Omaha, 1-3, but it went to 4 innings. Omaha started with urgency. They took the first 2 sets. The Bison were able to take the third, but then Omaha took the victory, taking the 4th set.
On the paper, it looks like kind of a hard loss considering NDSU has not lost a conference game in any less than 5 sets this year. But every set was very, very close. The first one was 25-20, 25-22, and then 2 sets of 25-23. So very close every single time. Unfortunately, NDSU just wasn't on the right side of it, and that's sometimes what volleyball is, just being on the wrong side of a very close game against another very good team.
Yep, to get into some stats, Allie Hinsey got her 9th double-double of the season with 21 digs and 12 kills. Dash, whatever stats you got for me.
Kelly Johnson had 44 assists, 11 digs, 2 blocks, and an ace. Alexis Bowling also had 10 kills. Cyber Tanchin had 16 kills, 9 digs, and 3 blocks.
And then last night, they faced Western Illinois at home. They swept the Leathernecks 3-0. It was just a complete blowout. Western Illinois only scored 10 points in the first set and 11 in the second, so complete blowout.
Yeah, a very convincing win, especially after that loss against Omaha. They needed to wash that taste of that out of their mouths, and they definitely did that with 25-10, 25-11, and 25-15. Not even making it close in any single set. Absolutely way to bounce back.
Yep. To get into some stats, Allie Hinsey led again with 18 kills and 5 digs with 6 blocks. Dash, what other stats you got for me?
Alexis Bowling had 11 kills, and Cyra Tanchin had 9 kills, 12 digs, 2 aces, and a block.
So they are now 7-2 in the conference, 3rd in standings. They're doing pretty good. This team is rolling strong, in my opinion. This team has been dominating all season. You even said this year, maybe they should be the team to represent the Bison as far as, momentum and winning and, their performance.
Definitely. Even after the loss to Omaha, I mean, even then that loss was very close, honestly, on paper. So this team is very, very good this year, and I can't wait to see what they do come tournament time, because there's no way at this rate they miss the tournament. With how good they've been playing this year, I'm not trying to jinx anything, but with how good they've been playing this year, this is an exciting team to watch, and I'm very excited to see what they can do come tournament time, because this is just an absolute turnaround from what the program has been for the last decade.
Yep, they'll face St. Thomas at home tomorrow at 1 p.m. This should be another blowout, because St. Thomas is at the bottom of the conference, so should be another blowout.
Absolutely, and should be another fun game for people to watch at the Benson Bunker Fieldhouse.
Right. Moving on to men's golf, Bison Golf competed at the Heron Lakes Collegiate Invitational, placing 3rd out of 10 teams. Not bad. Get into some stats. Gavin Kruntheit shot a career best round of 66 in the 3rd and final round of the tournament, finishing 5 under par and tying with teammate Ian Simonich for a 3rd overall. Nate Adams followed behind, finishing 16th place, finishing 4 over par. Brock Ritter finished tied for 24th place, and lastly, Nate Diesel tied for 36th place. So, the Bison will wrap up the season next week, fall season next week at the ODU Kilmarnock tournament, hosted in Powers Point, North Carolina. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we'll have to see. I mean, it's been another decent fall for them. 3rd place finish, like you mentioned. So definitely one more good finish to close out the fall would definitely be a good way to send them off into the winter.
Right. Now, switching gears to NFL.
Do we even want to talk about our teams this week?
I really don't. The Cowboys, no hat this week. The Cowboys did not get a win. Unfortunately, we lost to the Eagles. It was a hard game. We lost in the city of brotherly love, at least not at home. They're ruthless. They're a good team. I'm not mad about this loss. Unlike you, I'm not mad. This is a good team, and I don't even want to talk about this.
Well,
it was a hard one.
I can say something. So, how I mentioned the last couple of weeks that it might catch up to Cooper Rush eventually as a backup quarterback. It caught up to him on Monday night.
Oh, my God.
3 interception nights.
Whoa. 2 of which wasn't his fault. 1 of which was his fault. Darius Slay, that was his fault. The 10th ball, the first one, that's the receiver. If you touch your hands, we all know that rule. Touch your hands, you got to catch it. He can't really control that, but the other 2, I'll give that to you.
But my point is, you can't just rely on Cooper Rush if the run game's not working.
Yeah.
Whereas a guy like Dak Prescott, you could possibly rely on if the run game's not available. So he is coming back next week, though, but the Cooper Rush era might be over for now in Dallas.
Yeah, Dak threw 60 balls plus in practice, so it's looking like he can start coming in and playing a little bit more. And I don't know. Like I said, if Cooper Rush got this loss, maybe it's time for the switch. I just wanted to see how far he would go. That's all. I was willing to ride the train.
The fact that he only had 1 loss in his time here is still very, very good. Absolutely. The fact, when I saw Dak Prescott initially go out in week 1, I thought you guys were, I thought your guys' season was basically done.
And just because it's lost, it doesn't mean he is done. That doesn't mean he can't bounce back. We got the Lions next week. But
it does sound like Prescott's coming back next week, though, for that game.
But you see what I mean, though? Even if he didn't, this loss doesn't define him, is what I'm saying.
Oh, absolutely.
Get off me now to your Packers. What happened to you?
A lot happened.
Can I just say one name? Sauce Gardner,
yep.
Oh, man, he had a good game against y'all. What happened?
Absolutely. And a lot happened. And you know what, honestly, if I had that big red panic button in my hand right now, I would be pressing the heck out of it right now. A lot of problems, especially with this offensive side. This offense has been terrible this year, and especially these last few weeks. And now considering that Christian Watson might be out long term now, Randall Cobb's going to be out for a few weeks now.
It's a tough one.
It might be panic time in Green Bay. And considering there's so many talks about the Packers trying to get a free agent wide receiver like Chase Claypool, DJ Moore, but it's not happening yet, I don't know where this offense goes. And we Packers fans have been always trying to say, run the football more, run the ball more.
Yeah.
Passing game's not working. How many times do we run the ball? 19 times between our 2 running backs. That's it. You're not going to get anything with A.J. Dillon running for 10 carries, 41 yards, and Aaron Jones running 9 carries for 19. You are not winning any game by doing that.
Let me ask you this. Do you think A-Rod is done after this year? Because it's not looking, do you think he's going to be done?
I figured he was going to be done after this year, even when he signed that 3-year extension. I figured it was only going to be 1 more year. And he's kind of hinted that this is going to be his last year, which, and I know there's a lot of people putting blame on him for this. I mean, I'm putting some blame on him because he is trying to play hero ball half the time where I feel like he's changing the play from a run to a pass when he doesn't have to.
Yeah, okay.
But at the same time, 100%, not all of it's his fault. We've also had problems on the offensive line as well, which is highly strange because our offensive line was actually pretty decent last year. But this year, I think we're going to have to move some guys around. Elton Jenkins might have to move from right tackle back to guard. We might have to put Josh Nyman from left tackle to right tackle. So I think we're just going to have to make some moves. But, we play the Commanders this week. I would hope we can win that one.
Yep. Thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of Bison Overtime. I'm Malik Mitchell.
I'm Dash Mentzel.
And we'll catch you guys next week. Stay tuned.